I think everybody who's in that camp thinks they're over leveraged on the anti-woke thing and they can say whatever they want. Like, especially with what's going on with the athlete today, Elena.
Oh my God, they've completely painted themselves in a bizarre corner now.
Oh,
they're accidentally woke. They don't know that, but like, wait, are you suddenly no longer like biological essentialists that like genitals determine whether or not you're a man or a woman? Like, what are we all doing? I at a certain point I thought like the audiences of Charlie Kirk and all those people and J.K. Rowling, do you not look around and then just suddenly go like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Like, what is this all about?
Like, it's grievance, dude. It's like they feel like they've lost their target. Like they feel like they've lost the fame that they once knew, even though they're still making money and they're still doing their whole thing, right? But they feel like they've lost the credibility they once knew, and they just kind of. I mean, like you look in the 60s and a lot of the other people who kind of had similar like fault, because all of this kind of stuff of people having shitty opinions and then getting called out for them has been going on for a while, right? But you see every other star and person who's had that kind of thing happen to them, and they all like end up in the back half of their career like grievance riddled insane people. Now they just have a platform. And they don't have to go to the press to try to make news every time. They can just make news by tweeting from their phone very easily. And I know that I'm saying something that's pretty obvious to everyone, but I just found it bizarre that's the hill they're dying on, because it's such a hill it's gonna fuck them in the end with the way they're treating like this athlete who is biologically cisgender female and like because
this was shared by Christina, and it's just so true. Like, why are conservatives mad at the Olympics, at Disney, at Netflix, at Bud Light, about Barbie, at Ford, at Target, at Chick-fil-A?
Wait, I don't remember. Why were they mad at Ford? I don't remember that one. Why were they mad at
Ford? Gay
commercial.
I don't know. Gay
commercial.
Probably a commercial.
Probably.
Yeah, I think it was a commercial with Alana Glazer or something. Yeah.
Yes. Something gay about.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the most weird things that I've ever seen. I mean, I can't say that because I've seen a lot of weird shit from conservatives, but like today with the Olympic thing, they're saying this about a cis woman. It takes a 5-minute Google search to see, oh wait, this wasn't a trans woman that was fighting, this was a cis woman. But they're so thirsty to find that anti-trans narrative, they pick the target. But what makes this one so fucked up is that Imane Khalif is Algerian, and you can't legally be trans in Algeria. And so now all these
your passport
people,
says female on it.
Right. You're literally not allowed to transition. And even if she did, they wouldn't recognize it. So like they're inadvertently inciting violence against her, because if a police officer is like, hey, aren't you that man that competed at the Olympics? Like they can literally throw her in jail for that. And sometimes that happens, right? In Algeria, they'll arrest you if you're just suspected of being LGBTQ, or if you're straight, but you act a little bit too effeminate. So like, it's not just like, oh, we're bullying this woman. We're also inciting violence against her, which is so fucked up. And thankfully, it seems like Algeria has been defending her. Like, hey, this is fucked up. Like, this is our
same with Taiwan.
Well, didn't the Algerian Fight Club like tweet the Italian? Like, I think they quote retweeted somebody and said "cry more" or some shit like that.
Nice. They should. Yeah. It's like, listen, that is the worst sportsmanship I've ever seen. If you lose, you have to get better. I mean, for when it comes to Khalif, she's lost multiple times. She had 9 KOs, but she's really, really good. She got like 36 KOs herself. So she's a talented fighter, but you can't like pretend like she's some supernatural being. She lost in, what was it, 2021 to an Irish boxer.
She lost in the quarterfinals in the Olympics last time. So like, she's lost before.
And no one
talks. She's like dominating the sport. Even if she was, who cares? Like, she's a woman. But she's not. Like, so
not to turn this to beef, but I find a very interesting parallel between this kind of rhetoric and rhetoric from people who've sided with Drake during the whole beef. Okay, like I just find a direct line, because it's just one of those things where you feel like your identity.
There's a Venn diagram.
So
There's definitely a Venn diagram there.
Yeah,
somewhere,
like it's
I
just
love Venn
the
diagrams.
same.
Yeah,
which by the way makes you a problem on the conservative list. But like, I think what's interesting about that whole like, especially what we saw earlier this year with that whole beef, is that you saw pretty much what a really intense media war with no like respectability politics, because they were just trying to destroy each other. Right? It doesn't matter what's a lie, doesn't matter what's true. They are trying to destroy each other at the highest level, and everybody is bought into it, right? It's the two biggest rappers of our generation there. And when the smoke cleared, it's very clear. Like, even Drake knows he lost. Like, he's putting fucking 6ix9ine God when he's bowling and shit like that, right? We all know what happened, but people are still
his
on
house. God picked
people. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
Yeah, God flooded his house. It's like one of the plagues. He enacted it upon his man.
There was a big flood in Toronto. His house got flooded. That's
Oh shit! Okay, I didn't know that.
With
Also, I'm
doo-doo,
sorry. I know David is. This is
like sewage
a
water.
pox on David's house because he lives in Toronto. So do you live in Toronto? Where do you live? Okay, okay, cool. You're one that you can come to California, David. We'll house you in case it gets really bad. But like, I feel like you see, like, that's like a petri dish of what this kind of stuff is, right? Where people can't let go of their identity wrapped up in this whole thing, and they double and triple and quadruple down. And the argument they're making isn't this insane argument that this person who is they're by their definition. Right?
They're
they're cis. No, of course, yeah, but like, but by their definition,
that doesn't necessarily make you trans. Trans is just 100% just so the where if you are misidentified of the gender that you identify with at birth, that makes you trans. This has nothing to do with, like, trans. The fucked up thing about this is trans people aren't actually part of this story, and everyone is making again about trans people. You know, and this is the same kind of shit. Like, this has been done historically in the most racist of ways towards black athletes, black women specifically, for a very long time. You know, whether or not, like, I don't think they should be allowed to compete. Why? Because they have higher levels of testosterone. It's like, so you mean that they're the best at the thing, at the sport thing, the thing that like the competition. So isn't that what isn't that the point of this? I'm sorry. I feel like everyone getting mad at this boxer being good at boxing.
David shared the best excerpt about Michael Phelps. Like, this dude is like a supernatural freak. He has a giant wingspan.
Yeah, he has he has an unnatural wingspan. He has double jointed knees or something. He has like all these benefits that benefit him as a swimmer. All these natural benefits, they were celebrated. He was celebrated. He wasn't disqualified because he has all these natural advantages.
And anybody who competes at the highest level.
I was going to say conservatives don't care about equality or equity in literally anything. You'll get, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, work harder. You're in life because you're not, you're stuck in life in this position, in this situation, because you're not doing enough to get yourself out of it. No equity, no equality in anything.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to women's sports, apparently.
Right.
Where everyone's got to be something they don't even care about to begin with. They don't give a fuck about women's sports, but they are hardcore about equity or equality and everything needing to be on the level. For some bizarre reason, they care about it there. And this is not the case anywhere. People like the best athletes in the world, they work really hard, of course, but I would say a lot of them, if not the vast majority of them, also just have
biological advantages.
Biological advantages.
And usually they come from wealth, or at least a better condition in a lot of cases when it comes to like the people who make it into like the NHL, for example. There's going to be class privilege there. There's going to be biological privilege. But like, yes, and again, it's like, if you want to make this fair, then let's try and make things like, on parity. But if it's two adults consenting to do, a sport or a competition before the eyes of the world, then like, honestly, people have just completely lost their minds at this point. If they're like getting angry because they think this is a man because a woman was good at boxing, it's also so condescending to women. Like, oh my god, like oh no, only men are strong. Only men can. But
it's also antithetical. It's also antithetical to competition, because competition is always like, it always happens where, like, whenever you politicize this kind of stuff specifically, like. And I mean, like, I'm not talking about like Muhammad Ali politicizing the way he knocked out people and him being an avatar for anti-Vietnam stuff. I'm talking about specifically when the way you politicize, like, oh, I didn't really lose that, is such a bad. It's just so antithetical to competition and how competition works in most major sports, right? And whenever you see that, it's just like it's the showing of somebody who's on their way out. Right, like if you saw like Conor McGregor when he was fucking like cleaning up everything. And then the last like 4 or 5 fights he had where he had lost consistently, he was making excuses during every single fight that he lost, right? Fucking Colby Covington, Donald Trump's favorite fucking guy, right? Getting his face beat in by Usman, right? That whole thing, like he was making excuses throughout the entire thing, right? Like, you didn't have a problem with this before the IOC started, right? You didn't have a problem with her competing in all of the other things that she competed in before this happened. Now, all of a sudden, this is an enormous issue, right? You
exact same thing.
What is?
By the way, there's radio silence on the fact that there is a trans man who is a boxer who I think at this point is still undefeated. And like, you never hear about that story. There's a dude who's just crushing it, and because it's a trans man and they're only like always obsessed with like, this is about protecting women's spaces by controlling them kind of shit, you don't ever hear about that. But that's interesting, isn't it? Right? When it's like Zed just said, like, this is a case where at the previous Olympics no one said anything when she lost. Like, at that point it's like,
it's almost like they have an agenda. I mean, like, can you imagine if Muggsy Bogues got dunked on and he just started crying? He's like, this is so unfair. I mean,
I know.
That's not the way that it works. Like, no sport is perfectly fair. Listen, I can't just go into a fucking basketball court. I can't just go there and be like, hey,
you can't say basketball isn't fair for short people when Steph Curry is like, just like, I'm gonna stand from half court and make this shot. Like, it's 100% fair. You now have the advantage, dog.
It's not fair to short people. I'm sorry.
He's being protected by tall guys though, so.
I just love how like they're sharing the clip of Angela Carini, and they're like, oh my god, she said that she's never been hit that hard before. This is ridiculous. It's like, she's a boxer. Like, they're gonna beat each other's asses. That's the fucking point. Am I missing something? Like, that's the whole point. You beat the fuck out of each other. What the hell?
That was one of the weirdest.
It's a skill issue. I'm sorry.
Where it's like, like, did you see? She might have broken her nose. She was bleeding. Yeah, she's a boxer. Like,
in a fight.
If there were two people in that ring that you guys clocked both as women, most likely there would be blood and black eyes even in that fight, because that's what happens in boxing.
It's like surprise Pikachu face after you get your ass beat because you boxed. You boxed. Like, what the fuck?
I need to mention this too. So my sister worked for the Olympics for a little bit. She worked on the USA rugby team for doing social media. I did social media shit for the USA rugby team. I shot a couple things for them, like a couple years back before they started making huge strides at the Olympics, like a year or two before. They have worked so fucking hard. And I saw a question pop up in the chat about Ilona Mahor, I think, and like, dude. It is like, even that too, because they're trying to jump onto the USA rugby team because Ilona looks like somewhat stronger than it's not the aesthetic build that conservatives consider women to be, right? Like, I feel like it's like, you can't protect women's sports by saying this is a woman that, like, that's not protecting women's sports.
Play this clip that I just put into the chat to show.
Also, did you guys see that? You guys saw the lady ballers.
This footage of this athlete. Honestly, she scares the fuck out of me. Like, there is literally no sport, nothing, not even chess, that I would want to play against her. Like, honestly, like, dudes, unburden yourselves. You know, you don't have to have this weird insecurity that it's like, you're stronger than women. Like, this cheat. Like, just watch.
Let's go.
Like, just other players are ragdolls before her.
Yeah, like, bro.
I would never play any sport against her.
Wait, Lance, you don't think that if you just called yourself a woman, you would dominate her?
Yeah, right.
Automatically? I mean, what?
Sneak into the league? No, she would pick me up by the face and crush me. Like, lift me by the face. Okay? Like, I'm sorry.
Bro.
And like, my dudes, you gotta accept it. There's women, there's what, 7.5 billion human beings. There's a lot of women who can beat the fuck out of you, okay?
Yeah.
There's like, unburden yourselves, this weird insecurity where it's like, oh, someone's good at something, must be a man, has to be a man. man must have a penis. Has to be a dude.
Do you remember that thing that Cody Johnson posted about Lady Ballers a few months ago, where he reviewed the whole movie and stuff like that, and he kind of came to that conclusion where it's like one of the points he made was like, look, this is a movie about like women's basketball, but like it's not like there's no WNBA stars in it. Right? There's no respect for women's basketball. And like, I find it so interesting, right? That like, especially over the last year, like the WNBA has had this amazing moment where you have seen these women play like more intensely and rougher than a lot of the NBA, right? Honestly, like you're seeing people check Caitlin Clark and check Angel Reese every single chance they get, right? The hazing is real. You've seen some of the craziest plays in the WNBA over the last like 12 months, which have always been there, right? But I don't see like the lack of respect for that movie and the way it portrays women's basketball to now, like you saw them kind of wade into the debate and try to play like the whole thing of like, oh, Angel Reese is this really domineering monster and Caitlin Clark is this beautiful angel, and every competitor in that sport being like, this is such a fucking stupid debate, right? Like I don't it's not only like a lack of it's also a lack of respect of the sport is what I'm just trying to say, right? Like there's nothing about it's so antithetical to the values of like, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. These people are doing that. They're doing whatever it takes to win, and you don't like that because you're fucking losing, right? It baffles me. Yeah, it just baffles me why we're even having that debate in the first place.
Yeah, it's just very unserious.
I do like how Logan Paul was treated though by some of these outlets. Like this headline here. WWE US champion / transphobe Logan Paul can't tell a man from a woman, offers opinion anyway. It's a perfect headline.
That's bodyslam.net. That's just a pro wrestling news site. Like
nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. You know, what's funny too is like he literally works with women who these guys will easily come for those same reasons. Like there are women who work for the WWE who conservatives would definitely look at and be like, oh, that person's trans. That's not a real woman, because some of them are big and strong and don't have what they conservatives view as traditional feminine qualities. So I hope when he shows up to SummerSlam this Saturday, some of his coworkers give him a piece of their mind, honestly.